A 7-year-old boy ripped off his shirt in negative 28 degrees and pressed 2 dying newborns against his bare chest. He was already hypothermic. He had not eaten in 3 days. His own heart was slowing toward death. But those babies were turning blue, and he was the only thing standing between them and 2 tiny coffins. For 6 hours, he burned his own life to keep them warm. When 200 bikers finally found that wrecked car, what they saw inside made grown men collapse to their knees. The father of those twins made a decision that night. A decision that would change everything. Not just for his children, for the homeless boy who saved them. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and follow this story to the very end. Drop a comment telling me which city you are watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Marcus Webb had stopped shivering 40 minutes ago. He knew exactly what that meant. A homeless man named Charlie had explained it to him last winter, right before Charlie stopped waking up forever. When you stop shaking, that's when the cold wins. Your body gives up trying to warm itself. That's when you got maybe an hour, maybe 2. Then your heart just quits. Charlie did not survive that winter. Now Marcus sat in an abandoned railroad maintenance shed 4 miles off Highway 90, and his body had surrendered to the cold. He was 7 years old. He weighed 52 pounds. He had not eaten in 3 days. His stomach had stopped growling yesterday. That was almost worse than the hunger itself. The body learned to stop asking for what it would never receive. Marcus pressed his back against the frozen metal wall and counted his heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. Each thump came slower than the last, like a clock running out of batteries. His eyes were getting heavy. That was the second sign after the shivering stopped. The body, unable to keep itself warm, started shutting down things it decided were not essential. Consciousness was apparently not essential. Stay awake. Marcus bit the inside of his cheek hard enough to taste blood. The pain helped. A little. The copper taste reminded him he was still alive. Stay awake. Stay awake. He thought about his mother. Diane Webb had walked out the door of their trailer in Billings, Montana, on a Tuesday morning when Marcus was 6 years old. She did not say goodbye. She did not look back. She left a note on the kitchen counter with 4 words that Marcus would never forget. I can't do this. 4 words. That was all his life was worth to her. 4 words and a closed door, and the sound of her car engine fading into nothing. Marcus had waited 3 days before anyone found him. 3 days of sitting by the window watching for headlights that never came. 3 days of telling himself she would be back. She just went to the store. She just needed a break. She would come back. She never did. The foster system swallowed him whole after that. 3 homes in 8 months. 3 chances for someone to want him. 3 failures. The first family, the Petersons, forgot to feed him for 2 days. When the social worker asked about the weight loss, they said he was a picky eater. The second family, the Marshalls, locked him in the basement when company came over. Problem children shouldn't be seen, Mrs. Marshall explained while turning the deadbolt. You understand? Marcus understood. He understood that he was a problem. He understood that he should not be seen. The third family was the Hendersons. Marcus did not let himself think about the Hendersons. He ran instead. A 7-year-old boy with nothing but the clothes on his back running into the Montana winter because the cold outside was safer than the warmth inside that house. That was 11 months ago. 11 months of sleeping in abandoned buildings and eating garbage and making himself invisible. 11 months of learning that adults were not to be trusted. 11 months of surviving. Until tonight. The radio in the corner of the shed, the one thing that still worked, had been warning about this storm for 2 days. The worst blizzard in 30 years. Temperature dropping to negative 28 Celsius. Visibility 0. "Stay indoors," the announcer kept saying. "This storm will kill you." Marcus had no indoors. He had blankets stolen from a donation bin and a body that had already surrendered to the cold. His heartbeat was slowing. 1, 2, 3. The gaps between beats were getting longer. "This is it," he thought. "This is how I die." He was almost relieved. Dying meant no more hunger, no more cold, no more nights spent wondering why nobody wanted him, no more mornings spent pretending it did not matter. His eyes closed. Then something cut through the howl of the wind. Something that made his eyes snap open and his dying heart slam against his ribs. The scream of tires. The sickening crunch of metal against something solid. An explosion of sound that seemed to shake the frozen ground. And then, a baby crying. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. A baby. Out there. In this. His legs would not obey when he tried to stand. They buckled beneath him dead weight that had stopped receiving instructions from his brain. The cold had progressed further than he realized. So he crawled. His hands hit the frozen concrete floor, and pain shot up his arms like electricity. He could barely feel his fingers. They had turned the color of old candles, pale and waxy and wrong. The heavy metal door scraped open and the wind hit him like a fist. Snow drove into his face, blinding him, stealing what little breath he had left. But the baby was still crying. Marcus crawled into the storm. His hands sank into snow that came up to his elbows. His knees scraped against ice, hidden beneath the white surface. Every movement was agony. His body was screaming at him to stop, to lie down, to let the snow cover him like a blanket and sleep forever. He did not stop. 20 yards. 30. 40. It felt like miles. His arms were shaking not from cold anymore, but from exhaustion. His lungs burned. His vision was narrowing darkness creeping in from the edges. But that baby kept crying. And now there was another sound. A second baby joining the first. 2 babies. Out here. In negative 28. Marcus kept crawling. The car appeared out of the white chaos like a wounded animal. A black SUV, the kind families loaded up for road trips, had slammed sideways into a concrete barrier. The impact had caved in the driver's side door and shattered every window. The vehicle had then rolled, coming to rest on its side in a drainage ditch. Marcus pressed his face against the shattered rear window. Glass bit into his cheeks, but he barely felt it. 2 car seats, rear-facing, designed for newborns. And in those seats, 2 tiny forms wrapped in blankets that were already frosted with ice. One baby was crying a thin, reedy wail that sounded less like a human infant and more like a wounded animal. The other baby was silent. Marcus's heart clenched. Silent babies in freezing temperatures were not sleeping. They were dying. He forced himself to look toward the front of the vehicle. The driver, a man in his 30s with blood running down his face from a gash on his forehead, was slumped against the steering wheel. Unconscious, but breathing. Marcus could see the faint rise and fall of his chest. The passenger side told a different story. A woman. Young. Late 20s. Dark hair matted with blood and ice. She was pinned, the dashboard crumpled inward against her legs. Her face was twisted with pain, but her eyes were open. And when she saw Marcus's face in the window, those eyes locked onto his with an intensity that made his breath stop. The babies. Her voice was barely a whisper stolen by the wind. "Please, my babies." Marcus did not hesitate. Hesitation on the streets meant death. You saw someone in need. You helped, or you did not. But you decided fast. He wrapped his jacket sleeve around his hand and punched through the remaining safety glass. Once, twice, 3 times. Pain exploded through his knuckles, sharp and bright, but pain was just information. Pain meant he was still alive. The hole was barely big enough. He squeezed through glass, scraping his ribs and arms, drawing thin lines of blood that the cold immediately froze. Then he was inside. The temperature in the car was dropping fast. Marcus could see his breath forming thick clouds. He could see the same clouds forming around the mouths of the newborns, but their clouds were small. Too small. Too weak. "How long?" he asked the woman. His voice came out rough, scraped raw by the cold. "What? How long since the crash? I don't—" She was struggling to focus. Blood loss, shock, hypothermia setting in. Maybe an hour. The storm, we couldn't see anything. Marcus lost control. An hour. In these temperatures, with newborns. Marcus had learned about infant hypothermia from a nurse at the Salvation Army shelter last spring. She probably did not expect a 6-year-old to memorize every word, but Marcus memorized everything adults said. Information was survival. "Babies lose heat 4 times faster than adults," she had told him. "If you ever find a baby in a cold situation, the most important thing is skin-to-skin contact. Direct body heat. That's the only thing that works." Skin-to-skin contact. Marcus looked at his shirt, his only protection against negative 28 degrees. He looked at the 2 babies, their skin turning blue, their lives measured in minutes. The math was simple. The math was brutal. If he gave them his heat, he might not survive the night. If he did not, they would definitely not survive the next hour. "What's your name?" he asked the woman. "Sarah." Her voice cracked. "Sarah Morrison." "I'm Marcus." "Please, Marcus. Please help them. They're only 5 days old. We were bringing them home from the hospital. The storm came out of nowhere. My husband tried to stop, but the road was ice, and we just—" A sob tore from her throat. "Please, I can't lose them." Marcus reached for the silent baby first. The boy, the one closer to death. The car seat straps were complicated, but Marcus's fingers had picked locks and untangled fishing line for survival. He found the release button and carefully lifted the tiny body from the seat. The baby weighed nothing. Maybe 6 pounds. How could something so small be so important? Marcus pulled off his shirt. The cold hit his bare skin like 1,000 needles being driven into his flesh at once. Instant, vicious. His body tried to shiver, but he was already too far gone for that. Instead, he felt a bone-deep ache that made his teeth want to chatter, but could not quite manage it. He pressed the infant against his bare chest, positioning the small head above his heart, where the warmth was greatest. Then he reached for the second baby, the girl who was still crying. The crying was a good sign. Crying meant energy. Crying meant life. He freed her from the car seat and positioned her against his chest as well. One baby on each side. Both pressed against skin that was cold, but still warmer than the air around them. Then he grabbed his jacket and wrapped it around all 3 of them, creating a cocoon of shared body heat. Sarah was watching. Tears were freezing on her cheeks as they fell. "Those are my babies," she whispered. "Emma and Lucas. They're 5 days old." "I know. You're just a child." "I know. Why are you doing this? Marcus did not have an answer. He did not know why. He only knew that two tiny hearts were beating against his chest, and he was not going to let them stop. Emma is the girl. Sarah continued, her voice growing weaker. Lucas is the boy. Lucas stopped crying about 20 minutes ago. I tried to reach them, but I can't. I can't move. Lucas is warming up. It was true. Marcus could feel the slight change in the baby's temperature, the tiny limbs beginning to twitch against his ribs. He's going to be okay. You don't know that. I do. He did not. But Sarah needed to believe it. So Marcus made it true with his voice. They're both going to be okay, I promise. Another promise from an adult world that had never kept a single promise to him, but this time Marcus was the one making it. This time, he would be the one keeping it. Your husband, Marcus said. What's his name? Jake. What Sarah's eyes drifted toward the unconscious man in the driver's seat. Jake Morrison. They call him Thunder. Thunder. He's the president of a motorcycle club. The Steel Brotherhood. 200 members. A ghost of a smile crossed her frozen lips. Everyone's scared of him because he's so big and covered in tattoos. But he cries at sad movies. He rescues spiders instead of killing them. He's waited his whole life for these babies. Marcus looked at the unconscious man. Blood was still seeping from the gash on his forehead, but his breathing was steady. He'll wake up, Marcus said. How do you know? Because his kids need him to. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then, Marcus, how old are you? 7. 7? She said the word like it physically hurt her. You're 7 years old. What are you doing out here? Where are your parents? The question landed like a blow to Marcus's chest. He had learned to deflect questions about parents. Change the subject, make a joke, run away. But he could not run anywhere right now. He was trapped in a freezing car with 2 babies pressed against his chest, and a woman who deserved an honest answer. I don't have parents. Everyone has. My mom left when I was 6. She wrote a note that said she couldn't do it anymore. That was it. 4 words and she was gone. Sarah's sharp intake of breath cut through the howling wind. What about your father? Never met him. Don't even know his name. Foster care. Marcus's jaw tightened. 3 homes, none of them worked out. What do you mean, didn't work out? The Hendersons' faces flashed through his mind. Mr. Henderson's hands, Mrs. Henderson's silence, the way they both smiled at the social worker, while Marcus tried to make himself invisible in the corner. Bad things, he said finally. The kind that make you run away and never look back. How long have you been alone? 11 months. 11... Sarah's voice broke. You've been homeless for 11 months, but you're just a baby yourself. I'm not a baby. The words came out sharper than Marcus intended. I haven't been a baby since I was 6. Silence fell between them, filled only by the howl of the wind and the soft breathing of the twins against Marcus's chest. Then Sarah spoke again, and her voice was different now, stronger, more certain. Marcus, look at me. He looked. When we get out of here, and we are getting out, you're coming home with us. Do you understand? You're not going back to the streets. You're not going back into that system. You're coming home with me and Jake and Emma and Lucas. Marcus felt something crack in his chest, something he had built very carefully over 11 months of survival. A wall made of disappointment and broken promises and the certain knowledge that nobody wanted him. You don't mean that. I mean every word. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you found 2 dying babies in a blizzard and took off your shirt to save them. I know you're 7 years old, and you've been surviving alone for almost a year. I know you're the bravest person I've ever met." Sarah's eyes were fierce, despite the pain and the cold. "I know exactly who you are, Marcus Webb." Marcus opened his mouth to argue, to explain all the reasons why her promise would break like every other promise, to protect himself from the hope that was trying to bloom in his frozen chest. But before he could speak, the car groaned. Metal scraped against rock somewhere beneath them. The vehicle shifted, tilted, and Marcus felt his stomach drop as gravity changed direction. They were moving. "Sarah." He kept his voice calm, even though his heart was racing. "Don't move." "What? Why, what's happening?" Marcus looked down through the shattered rear window. Below them, the drainage ditch continued downward into darkness. 40 feet, maybe more. The only thing holding them in place was a drift of packed snow that was slowly, impossibly compressing under the weight of the SUV. "We're on a ledge," he said quietly. "If we shift too much weight, we'll slide." Sarah's eyes went wide with terror. The babies are fine. They're safe with me. But I need you to stay completely still. Can you do that? I can't feel my legs. I don't know if I'm moving." "You're not. You're doing great. Just breathe. Focus on my voice." The car groaned again. Another inch of sliding. Emma whimpered against Marcus's chest. Lucas, who had been warming steadily, started to cry. "Shh." Marcus held them tighter. "Shh, it's okay. I've got you. I've got you both." He looked at Sarah. He looked at the unconscious man in the driver's seat. He looked at the 40-foot drop below them and the blizzard raging above. He was 7 years old. He weighed 52 pounds. He was hypothermic and starving and holding 2 newborns against his bare chest in negative 28 degrees. And somehow, he was not afraid. For the first time in his life, Marcus Webb felt like he mattered, like his existence meant something, like there was a reason he had survived the Hendersons and the cold and the hunger. These 2 babies, Emma and Lucas. 5 days old. They needed him, and he was not going to let them down. The car settled with a groan of stressed metal. The sliding stopped for now, but Marcus could feel the precariousness of their position the way the vehicle trembled with every gust of wind. "Talk to me," he said to Sarah. "Tell me about Jake. Tell me about the club. Tell me everything." Sarah's eyes focused on his face, grateful for the distraction. "Jake served in the Marines for 8 years, 2 tours in Afghanistan. He came home with nightmares and no idea who he was anymore. The Steel Brotherhood saved him. A motorcycle club saved him. They're not what people think. They do charity rides for children's hospitals. They escort abuse victims to court so they feel safe. They raised $40,000 last year for families who lost their homes in that fire in Butte." Marcus thought about the bikers he had seen around Billings. Loud engines, leather jackets, tattoos covering every inch of skin. They had always seemed dangerous, something to avoid. "Jake always says the leather is just armor," Sarah continued. "What matters is the heart underneath. The Brotherhood takes care of its own. And now," her voice cracked, "now they're our family. Emma and Lucas have 200 uncles who would die for them." 200 uncles. Marcus tried to imagine what that would feel like, having 200 people who cared whether you lived or died, having even one person who cared. "What about you?" he asked. "What do you do?" "I'm a teacher, 3rd grade." Sarah almost laughed. 8-year-olds. I deal with 8-year-olds every day, and here I am being rescued by a 7-year-old. I'm not rescuing you. I'm just keeping the babies warm. You're doing so much more than that. Sarah's eyes glistened with tears that froze the moment they formed. You're giving us a chance. All of us. Including me. The wind screamed outside. The car shuddered. Marcus felt Lucas's tiny hand wrap around his finger with surprising strength. He's got a good grip, Marcus said. Sarah sobbed, half laugh, half cry. Jake says he's going to be a fighter, like his dad. What about Emma? Emma's going to be the smart one. She already watches everything, takes it all in. You can see her little brain working. Marcus looked down at the baby girl pressed against his left side. Her eyes were closed now, but her breathing was steady. Strong. She's warm, he said. They both are. They're going to be okay. Because of you. Because of body heat. Science. No, Sarah's voice was fierce. Because of you. Because you chose to help when you could have walked away. Because you took off your shirt in negative 28 degrees for 2 strangers. Because you're good, Marcus Webb. You're so good, and nobody taught you to be. You just are. Marcus did not know what to say to that. Nobody had ever called him good before. Problems. Trouble. Burden. Those were the words adults used for him. Never good. The car groaned again, and this time the sliding did not stop. 1 inch, 2 inches, 3. Marcus braced himself against the rear seat, shielding the babies with his body, and felt the vehicle begin to tip. Marcus! Sarah screamed. Don't move! Don't! The SUV lurched violently, metal shrieking against rock, and then it stopped. Something had caught them. A tree root. A boulder. Something buried in the snow that Marcus could not see. They hung there suspended at an angle that made Marcus's stomach clench. The babies pressed against his chest, Sarah's ragged breathing filling the silence. We're okay. Marcus's voice shook for the first time. We're okay. We stopped. How much longer? Sarah whispered. How much longer do we have? Marcus looked at the darkness below. He looked at the storm above. He looked at the 2 newborns whose lives depended on his body heat and his stubborn refusal to give up. As long as it takes, he said. He did not know if help was coming. He did not know if anyone would find them. He did not know if his body had enough heat left to share. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He was not going to let these babies die. Not tonight. Not ever. The wind howled. The car trembled. Emma and Lucas breathed steadily against Marcus's bare chest. And somewhere in the darkness, 47 miles away, 200 motorcycles were about to roar to life. 47 miles away, Jake Morrison was destroying the Steel Brotherhood clubhouse. He grabbed a chair and hurled it across the room. It smashed into the wall, splintering into pieces. Danny Bear Williams did not flinch. She should have been home 5 hours ago. Jake's voice was raw. 5 hours, Bear. The storm. I know about the storm. Jake spun around, his massive frame trembling with a fear he had never felt before. Not in Afghanistan. Not in combat. Not ever. That's why she should have been home. She knows better than to drive in this. Something happened. Bear stepped forward carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. Her phone could be dead. Cell towers go down in weather like this. You know that. It's not her phone. Jake pressed his fist against his chest. I feel it here. Something's wrong with my family. In 20 years with the club, Bear had seen Jake face down rival gangs without blinking. He had watched Jake take a knife to the ribs during a bar fight and keep swinging like nothing happened. He had never not once seen Jake Morrison scared. Until now. "What do you want to do?" Bear asked quietly. "I want to find my wife. I want to find my children." Jake's eyes were wild. "They're 5 days old, Bear. Emma and Lucas. 5 days. They've never been outside the hospital until today. The police are spread across the entire state dealing with accidents. I called. They put me on hold for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Bear pulled out his phone. "Then we don't wait for police." "What are you doing?" "Calling in the Brotherhood." The phone tree activated at 10:15 p.m. Bear called 3 numbers. Those 3 called 3 more each. Within 15 minutes, phones were ringing across Montana. The message was simple. Thunder's wife and newborn twins are missing. Storm on Highway 90. All hands. By 10:45, 43 bikes had arrived at the clubhouse. By 11:87. By 11:30, the parking lot was overflowing with motorcycles, and men in leather vests were standing in the snow engines, idling breath, forming clouds in the frozen air. 156 riders. Then old Pete rolled in on his vintage Harley. 73 years old. Been with the club since Vietnam. Behind him came another wave. And another. 200 riders in total. Jake stood at the front of the assembled crowd, his own Harley rumbling beneath him. He tried to speak. His voice broke. Bear stepped up beside him. "You all know why we're here. Sarah left the hospital at 5 p.m. with the twins. Black Suburban. Somewhere on Highway 90, something went wrong. Police can't help. Search and rescue can't fly. We're all they've got." A murmur ran through the crowd. Not complaint. Readiness. "We split into groups of 8, Bear continued. "Each group takes a section of the route. Every exit. Every mile marker. Every place a car could go off the road. You find anything you call it in immediately." "What about the weather?" someone shouted from the back. "Visibility's down to nothing. Wind chill's pushing 40 below." Bear looked at Jake. Jake looked at his brothers. "My wife is out there." His voice cracked, but held. "My children are out there. 5 days old. They've never even seen their nursery yet. Sarah spent 3 months painting it yellow because she read somewhere that yellow makes babies happy." 200 men stood in absolute silence. "I'm not asking anyone to risk their lives. If you want to sit this out, I understand. No judgment. But I'm riding into that storm and I'm not coming back without my family." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. 200 engines continued to idle waiting. Old Pete's gravelly voice cut through the silence. "What are we waiting for? Those babies are getting cold." Something broke in Jake's chest. These men, these brothers, were about to ride into a blizzard that could kill them. Not for money, not for reputation, for family. "Let's ride." 200 motorcycles roared to life, and the convoy began to move. Back in the wrecked SUV, Marcus had lost feeling in his feet completely. Not numb. Gone. Like they had been removed from his body entirely. He tried to wiggle his toes, and felt nothing. "Marcus," Sarah's voice pulled him back. "You went quiet. Talk to me." "I'm here. How are the babies?" He looked down at Emma and Lucas, both breathing steadily, both warm against his chest. Their small bodies had absorbed his heat, and now they were radiating it back to him, creating a tiny pocket of warmth inside his jacket. "They're perfect. Lucas keeps grabbing my finger." "He does that." Sarah almost smiled. Even in the hospital, the nurses said he had the strongest grip they'd ever seen on a newborn. Emma's quieter. She's always quiet, watches everything, The pediatrician said some babies are observers. They take it all in before they decide to participate. Marcus looked at the baby girl pressed against his left side. Her eyes were open now, dark and clear, staring up at him with an intensity that seemed impossible for a 5-day-old. She's looking at me. She sees you. Sarah's voice softened. She knows you're keeping her safe. The car groaned. Metal shifted against rock. Marcus braced himself, but the vehicle held its position. That keeps happening, he said. How bad is it? We're stable, for now. You're lying. I'm not. Marcus, Sarah's voice was sharp. I'm a teacher. I can tell when kids are lying. How bad is it? He hesitated. Then, there's about 40 feet of drop below us. The snow holding us up is compressing. Every time the wind gusts hard enough, we slide a little more. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. How long do we have? I don't know. Hours maybe less. And if we slide, we won't. But if we do, Marcus pulled the babies tighter against his chest. I won't let them fall. I'll protect them with my body. You'll die. Maybe. You're 7 years old, and they're 5 days old. They haven't had a chance to do anything yet. I've at least had 7 years. Sarah started crying, not soft, ladylike tears. Great heaving sobs that shook her entire body, made worse by the fact that she could not move, could not reach her children, could not do anything but lie there, trapped and helpless. This isn't fair, she gasped. This isn't fair. You shouldn't have to make that choice. You're a child. You're just a child. I stopped being a child a long time ago. No. Sarah's voice turned fierce through her tears. No, you're still a child, Marcus. You deserve to be a child. You deserve birthday parties and Christmas presents and someone to tuck you in at night. You deserve everything you never got. Marcus did not know what to say. Those things she described, birthday parties, present someone to tuck him in. They sounded like fairy tales. Things that happened to other children. Not to him. When Jake finds us, Sarah continued, because he will find us, that man would tear apart mountains to get to his children. You're coming home with us. And you're going to have all of it. Every single thing you missed. I swear to you, Marcus. I swear on my children's lives. You shouldn't make promises you can't keep. I don't. The wind screamed outside. The car shuddered. Emma made a small sound against Marcus's chest. Not quite a cry, more like a question. Shh. He adjusted his hold on her. Shh. I've got you. Talk to me, Sarah said. Tell me something. Anything. I need to hear your voice. What do you want to know? Tell me about before. Before you ran away. Was there anything good? Marcus thought about it. Really thought. The memories were there, buried under 11 months of survival and 4 years of foster care and a lifetime of disappointment. There was a dog, he said finally, at the shelter where I stayed sometimes. His name was Biscuit. He was old and missing one eye and nobody wanted to adopt him. What happened to him? I don't know. I had to leave, but he used to sleep next to me. He was warm. Marcus paused. That was nice. Having something warm next to you. Is that why you knew what to do with the babies? Maybe. I know what it feels like to be cold, and I know what it feels like when something warm makes it better. Sarah was quiet. Then, you're going to have that again. Warmth. A home. A family. I promise. You keep saying that. Because I mean it. The car groaned again. This time the slide was more pronounced. 2 inches, 3. Marcus braced his feet against the doorframe, trying to anchor himself, trying to keep the babies stable. Marcus, I've got them, just hold still. The vehicle shuddered, tilted further, and then miraculously stopped again. Something had caught beneath them. Another obstacle in the snow. but they were running out of obstacles. "How long has it been?" Sarah asked. Her voice was weaker now. The cold was getting to her too. "I don't know. A few hours maybe." "Jake will come. He'll find us." "I know. You don't believe me. I believe you believe it. That's not the same thing." "No," Marcus admitted. "It's not." Silence fell between them. The wind continued to howl. The babies continued to breathe. And somewhere in the darkness, 200 motorcycles were fighting their way through the worst storm Montana had seen in 30 years. The search was methodical and agonizing. The first group found nothing along the initial stretch of highway, just empty road and drifting snow and visibility that dropped to zero every time the wind gusted. The second group discovered an abandoned sedan near Three Forks. Wrong color, wrong make, not Sarah's car. The third group had 2 bikes go down on an icy patch, riders skidding across the pavement coming to rest in snowdrifts that nearly swallowed them whole. Both men got up. Both men got back on their bikes. Both men kept riding. Jake led the fourth group himself, pushing deeper into the mountains where the storm was at its worst. His hands were frozen to the handlebars. His face had gone numb beneath his helmet. He did not slow down. Bear rode beside him. "Jake, we need to take a break. The men, I'm not stopping. 5 minutes just to warm up. We won't miss anything in 5 minutes. Jake did not respond. He just kept riding his headlight, cutting through the white chaos like a sword. Sarah's face kept appearing in his mind. The way she looked that morning, exhausted and radiant, holding Emma against her chest, while Lucas slept in the hospital bassinet. The way she smiled and said, "Go to work. We'll be fine. I'll see you tonight." He should have driven them himself. He should have ignored the meeting with the distributor and the paperwork that needed signing and everything else that suddenly seemed meaningless. His family was out there. In this. Alone. "Please," he whispered into his helmet. "Please let them be alive. I'll do anything, give up anything. Just let them be okay." At 2:47 a.m., his phone rang. He nearly crashed trying to answer it. His frozen fingers fumbled with the screen. Bear pulled up beside him, shouting something he could not hear. "Thunder!" Spider's voice crackled through the speaker. "We found something." Jake's heart stopped. "What, where?" "Tire tracks, going off the road about 3 miles east of the barrier near mile marker 47. They go into a drainage ditch. We can't see the bottom. I'm on my way." He cranked his throttle and felt his bike surge forward. The other riders fell in behind him, a convoy of thunder cutting through the white darkness. 14 minutes later, he saw the flashlights. Spider and his group had parked along the shoulder-shining lights down into a void of swirling snow. Jake skidded to a stop and ran to join them. His legs nearly buckled, frozen exhausted, but he forced them to carry him. "There," Spider pointed. 50 feet down. Maybe more." Jake looked into the darkness. At first he saw nothing. Just snow and shadow and the vague outline of rocks. Then his flashlight caught something. A reflection. Glass. A black shape barely visible through the storm. A vehicle overturned, windows shattered. His wife's Suburban. "Sarah!" His voice tore from his throat. "Sarah, can you hear me?" Nothing. No response. Just the howl of the wind. "We need to get down there." Jake was already looking for a way over the edge. "Now. Right now." Bear grabbed his arm. "The slope's too steep. Snow's unstable. We go down without ropes, we're not coming back up." "Then we get ropes." "Jake." Bear's voice was calm but firm. "We do this right or we don't do it at all. Those babies need us to be smart, not fast." Jake wanted to scream. He wanted to throw himself over the edge and let gravity take him to his family. But Bear was right. He knew Bear was right. How long for ropes? Spider's got climbing gear in his saddlebag. 10 minutes to rig something safe. They might not have 10 minutes. They might not have us at all if we fall into that ravine and break our necks. Bear put both hands on Jake's shoulders. Trust me, brother. We'll get to them. But we do it right. 10 minutes. Jake stood at the edge of the ravine, staring down at the dark shape of his wife's car, and felt every second like a knife in his chest. Hold on, he whispered. Just hold on. I'm coming. In the car below, Marcus had started to fade. He could feel it happening. His thoughts were getting sluggish like they were moving through mud. His arms felt heavy around the babies. His heartbeat was slowing. But Emma and Lucas were warm. Their breathing was steady. Their tiny hearts were beating strong against his chest. That was all that mattered. Marcus, Sarah's voice sounded far away. Marcus, talk to me. Tired. I know you're tired, but you can't sleep. Not yet. The babies are warm. Because of you. But they need you to stay awake. They need you, Marcus. He tried to focus. The car had stopped sliding. That was good. The wind seemed quieter. That was probably bad. It meant his hearing was starting to go. Tell me something else, he managed. Keep me awake. What do you want to know? The club, the brotherhood. What do they do? Their family. Sarah's voice strengthened with the topic. That's what Jake always says. Blood doesn't make family. Choice does. Every man in that club chose to be brothers. They chose to protect each other, to stand beside each other, no matter what. Like a pack. Exactly like a pack. She almost laughed. Jake would love that comparison. He's always saying humans forgot how to be pack animals. We get so caught up in our own lives, we forget we need each other. Marcus thought about that. Pack animals. People who needed each other. He had never had a pack. He had never had anyone who needed him. Until tonight. I need you too, Sarah said quietly, like she could read his thoughts. Not just to save the babies. I need you, Marcus. I need you to survive this. I need to see you grow up. I need to watch you become the incredible person you're already becoming. You just met me. Some people you know the moment you see them. Some people you recognize even when you've never met before. Her voice cracked. I recognized you, Marcus. The second I saw your face in that window, I knew you were supposed to be part of our family. The car groaned. Metal shifted. Snow cascaded past the windows. And then cutting through the storm, Marcus heard something new. Voices. Distant. Getting closer. Sarah. Sarah, can you hear me? Sarah's entire body jerked. Jake, we're down here. I hear you. I'm coming, hold on. Tears streamed down her frozen cheeks. He found us. Marcus. He found us. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest, something that had been frozen for so long he forgot it existed. Hope. Stay with me, Sarah begged. Please, he's coming. Just a few more minutes. Stay with me. Marcus looked down at Emma and Lucas. Both babies were awake now, their dark eyes reflecting the dim light. I'm staying, he whispered. I'm not going anywhere. Above them, the sound of voices grew louder. Ropes were being secured. Men were shouting instructions. Jake Morrison was coming for his family, and he was going to find not 2 children in that car, but 3. Jake was over the edge before Bear could stop him. The rope burned through his gloves as he descended. 50 feet of darkness and swirling snow, and his heart pounding so loud he could hear it over the storm. The other men were shouting something above him, but he did not care. He did not slow down. His boots hit the side of the SUV with a thud that made the vehicle groan. The whole thing shifted metal scraping against rock, and Jake froze. "Jake," Sarah's voice weak but alive. "Be careful. We're on a ledge." "I know, baby, I know. I'm here." He pressed his face against the shattered rear window and looked inside. What he saw stopped his heart. Two tiny bundles pressed against a bare chest. A child, impossibly small, impossibly thin, with his arms wrapped around the babies like a shield. Gray skin, blue lips, eyes that were barely open. But the babies were moving. The babies were crying. The babies were alive. "Who?" Jake's voice cracked. "Sarah, who is that? His name is Marcus. He found us. He saved them." Sarah was crying. "He's been holding them for 6 hours, Jake. 6 hours. He took off his shirt. He gave them everything." Jake stared at the boy. 7 years old, maybe? 50 pounds at most. Shirtless in -28 degrees with 2 newborns pressed against his chest. 6 hours. "Hey," Jake's voice came out rough. "Hey, Marcus, can you hear me?" The boy's eyes flickered, focused. "You're Jake?" Yeah, I'm Jake. I'm going to get you out of here, okay, all of you?" "The babies first." "What? Take the babies first. They're warm now, but they need a hospital. Get them out." "Kid, I'm not leaving you. I'm not asking." Marcus's voice was weak but firm. "Emma and Lucas. Take them. I'll wait." Jake looked at the boy, this child who had given everything to save strangers, and felt something crack open in his chest. "Bear," he shouted up toward the edge of the ravine. "I need another rope, and blankets, all the blankets we have. On their way." Jake turned back to Marcus. "You're not waiting anywhere. We're all going together, understand? The car might not hold. If too many people, I don't care about the car." Jake was already working his way through the shattered window glass, biting into his leather jacket. "I care about you. All of you." He squeezed inside. The vehicle groaned and tilted another inch, but Jake did not stop. He positioned himself next to Marcus and looked down at his children for the first time since the nightmare began. Emma and Lucas. Perfect. Warm. Their dark eyes staring up at him with that unfocused newborn gaze. "They're beautiful," he whispered. "They're strong." Marcus's voice was fading. "Good grip. Good lungs. They're going to be okay. Because of you. Because of science. Skin-to-skin contact. A nurse taught me." Jake wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. This boy dying of hypothermia was explaining the science behind his own sacrifice. "I'm going to take them now, okay?" Jake said gently. "I'm going to wrap them in my jacket and pass them up to the men above. Then I'm coming back for you." Marcus nodded slowly. His arms loosened around the babies the first time in 6 hours, and Jake saw him wince as circulation tried to return to his frozen limbs. "Easy, easy." Jake took Emma first, cradling her against his chest. She was warm. Impossibly warm, considering the temperature. "Hey, baby girl, Daddy's got you." Emma made a small sound. Not a cry. More like recognition. Jake passed her up through the window to Bear, who was now rappelling down with blankets and supplies. Then he took Lucas, who grabbed his finger with that strong grip Sarah had mentioned, and did not let go. "That's my boy." Jake's voice broke. "That's my fighter." He passed Lucas up to Bear. Both babies were secure now, being lifted toward the surface, toward warmth, toward safety. Now Marcus. Jake turned back to the boy and felt his breath catch. Marcus had slumped against the side of the car. His eyes barely open, his breathing shallow. The effort of releasing the babies had taken whatever reserves he had left. Hey, Marcus, stay with me. Jake shook him gently. You're not done yet. You hear me? You're not done. Tired. I know, but you can sleep later. Right now you need to stay awake. The babies are safe. They're safe. Because of you. Now it's your turn. Jake wrapped his own jacket around Marcus's bare chest. The boy was ice cold, colder than anyone Jake had ever touched, including the dead. His skin had that grayish pallor that medics called circling the drain. Bear, I need that stretcher now. Coming down. Jake pulled Marcus against his own body, trying to share whatever warmth he had left. The boy weighed nothing. 50 pounds of bone and determination, and whatever force of will had kept him alive this long. Sarah says you've been alone for 11 months, Jake said, keeping his voice steady. Living on the streets. Marcus did not respond. That ends tonight. You hear me? That ends right now. A stretcher was being lowered through the window. Jake carefully positioned Marcus on it, strapping him in, making sure the blankets covered every inch of exposed skin. Sarah next, Marcus mumbled. We're getting her. I promise. She can't move her legs. I know. The fire department is on their way. They've got equipment to cut her out. But she's going to be okay. Everyone's going to be okay. Jake looked toward the front seat where his wife lay trapped. Her eyes were open, watching him, tears frozen on her cheeks. I love you, he called to her. I love you too. Now get that boy to safety. I'm not leaving you. I'm not going anywhere. She almost laughed. Literally, the dashboard has me pinned, but I'm warm enough and the babies are safe. Get Marcus out of here. He's the one who's dying. Jake hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him to stay with his wife. But Sarah was right. Marcus had minutes, maybe less. Bear, I've got him. Bear was already at the window reaching for the stretcher. Go help Spider set up the winch. We'll get him up. Jake squeezed through the window and grabbed the rope. Above him 50 feet of frozen rock and unstable snow. Below him, his wife, and the certainty that if this car slid any further, she would not survive. He started climbing. The surface was chaos. Fire trucks had arrived. Ambulances. Search and rescue helicopters circling overhead, unable to land in the storm but ready the moment it cleared. 200 bikers were everywhere holding lights, running equipment, doing whatever needed to be done. Marcus came up first. The stretcher cleared the edge of the ravine, and 4 men immediately surrounded it, wrapping more blankets, checking vital signs, calling for the paramedics. Core temp is 84 degrees, someone shouted. We need to move him now. Jake watched them load Marcus into an ambulance. The boy's eyes flickered open one more time, and for a moment they locked with Jake's. Thank you, Jake said. He did not know if Marcus could hear him. Thank you for saving them. The ambulance doors closed. Sirens wailed. And then Marcus was gone, racing toward St. Vincent's Medical Center in Helena. Emma and Lucas were already in the first ambulance, their temperatures stable, their vital signs strong. A miracle, the paramedics kept saying. An absolute miracle. Jake turned back to the ravine. How long for Sarah? Fire crew's going down now. Bear was beside him. They've got the jaws of life. They'll have her out in 30 minutes. She can't wait 30 minutes. The car's unstable. Jake? Bear grabbed his arm. The fire crew knows what they're doing. Let them work. That's my wife down there. And she needs you to be smart, not stupid. She said it herself. She's stable. Marcus wasn't. You made the right call. Jake stared into the darkness. He could see the flashlights of the fire crew descending, could hear the groan of metal as they began working on the vehicle. Who is he, Bear, that kid? Where did he come from? Sarah said he was living in an abandoned building nearby, heard the crash, Came to help. He's 7 years old. I know. He took off his shirt in -28 degrees and held my children against his chest for 6 hours. I know. Jake's legs buckled. Bear caught him before he hit the ground. Easy, brother. Easy. He should be dead. Jake's voice cracked. That boy should be dead. No food for 3 days, hypothermic before he even found the car. He gave away every bit of heat his body had. He should be dead. But he's not. Why, how? Bear was quiet for a moment. Then, some people are just too stubborn to die. Some people have something to live for even when they don't know what it is yet. He's got nothing, Bear. No family. No home. Nobody waiting for him anywhere. He's got something now. Jake looked at his friend. What do you mean? I mean, I saw your face when you looked at him. I know that look. You had the same look 20 years ago when you told me you wanted to be president of this club. Bear. That boy saved your children. He gave them everything. And I saw it in your eyes, Jake. You're not letting him go. Jake did not deny it. He could not. The social workers are going to come, Bear continued. They're going to want to put him back in foster care. Back in a system that already failed him 3 times. That's not happening. I know. I'm serious, Bear. That boy is not going back to the streets. He's not going back into foster care. He's coming home with us. Bear smiled. It was a sad smile, but real. Then we better make sure he survives the night. The fire crew extracted Sarah at 4:17 a.m. The jaws of life had cut through the dashboard, freeing her legs. She was loaded onto a stretcher, an oxygen mask over her face, paramedics surrounding her. Jake ran to her side. The babies. They're at the hospital. They're perfect, both of them. Marcus, on his way, he's alive, Sarah, he's alive. She grabbed his hand with surprising strength. He can't go back. He won't. I promised him, Jake. I promised he would come home with us. Then that's what's going to happen. The social workers. I don't care about social workers. I don't care about paperwork or background checks or whatever hoops they want us to jump through. That boy saved our children. He's part of this family now. Sarah started crying. I love you. I love you too. Now let's get you to the hospital. They loaded her into the ambulance. Jake climbed in beside her, holding her hand, as the sirens wailed and the vehicle began to move. Behind them, 200 motorcycles fell into formation. The convoy followed the ambulance through the storm, a river of chrome and leather cutting through the darkness. People on the road pulled over to let them pass. Truckers honked their horns in solidarity. The whole world seemed to stop and watch. At the hospital, they were met by a wall of medical personnel. Sarah was rushed into surgery. Her legs would need pins and plates, the doctor explained, but she would walk again. Full recovery expected. Emma and Lucas were in the NICU, but only as a precaution. Their temperatures had been nearly perfect when the rescue team reached them. 97.1 and 97.4. Perfect considering they had spent 6 hours in a car that dropped to 15 degrees inside. Perfect because a 7-year-old boy had turned himself into a furnace. But Marcus was critical. Core temperature was 84 degrees when he arrived, Dr. Chen told Jake. That's 8 degrees below normal. 9 degrees below is usually fatal. We're warming him slowly, but his body went through extreme trauma. Is he going to make it? I don't know. Dr. Chen's voice was honest, gentle. By every medical metric, he should already be dead. He was hypothermic before he reached your car. He hadn't eaten in 3 days. He's severely malnourished, severely dehydrated, and he spent 6 hours giving away what little body heat he had. But something kept him alive. I've been practicing medicine for 25 years. I've seen people survive things that should have killed them, And I've seen people die from things that should have been survivable. Medicine isn't always logical. What does that mean? It means I've seen willpower do things that science can't explain. Whatever kept that boy alive in that car, it wasn't medical. It was something else. Jake thought about Marcus's eyes, the way they had focused when Jake asked about the babies, the way he had insisted they be rescued first, the way he had been ready to die as long as Emma and Lucas survived. Can I see him? Not yet. We're still stabilizing him. But I'll come get you the moment he wakes up. When he wakes up. Not if. Dr. Chen smiled sadly. When he wakes up. The fire crew arrived at 7:30 a.m. 6 men, still wearing most of their gear, faces red from the cold. They came through the emergency room doors like they owned the place, and 200 bikers parted to let them through. Their captain was Rodriguez, 43 years old, 21 years on the job. He had seen things that would break most people. What he had seen in that car had broken him, anyway. I need to tell you something, Rodriguez said to Jake. About what we found. I know what you found. My wife told me. No. Rodriguez shook his head. You know part of it. You don't know all of it. The waiting room went quiet. 200 men leaned in to listen. When we reached the car, we checked the babies first. Their temperatures were nearly perfect, 97.1 and 97.4, in a car that was 15 degrees inside, after 6 hours. Because of Marcus. Yes, but here's what you don't understand. Rodriguez's voice cracked. Core temperature drops about 1 degree per hour in hypothermia. Those babies should have been at 80 degrees. Lower, probably. They should have been dead. But Marcus was at 84 degrees. He started the night already hypothermic, probably around 92 or 93. That means he lost 8 or 9 degrees over 6 hours. He gave those babies everything, every single degree his body produced. He was burning his own life to keep them warm. Silence. Absolute silence. I've been doing this job for over 2 decades, Rodriguez continued. I've seen heroes, civilians who pulled people from burning buildings, parents who shielded their children from harm, strangers who performed CPR until we arrived. He looked around at the bikers, these rough men in leather who had ridden through a blizzard for family. But this boy, this 7-year-old kid with no food in his stomach, and no one waiting for him anywhere, he did something I've never seen before. He made a choice. Not a panic reaction, not an impulse. A choice. He chose to save those babies, even though it meant dying himself. He's not going to die. Jake's voice was fierce. He's going to survive this. I hope you're right. Rodriguez wiped his eyes. Because the world needs people like him. The world needs kids who haven't forgotten how to be good, even when no one taught them how. Bear stepped forward. We're going to make sure he has everything he needs. Family, home, all of it. He deserves it. He deserves everything. Rodriguez turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing. When we were cutting Sarah out of the car, she told us something. She said Marcus made her a promise, that he would come home with your family if he survived. Jake nodded. That's right. She also said he didn't believe her. He's been broken by too many broken promises. That's going to change. I hope so. Rodriguez locked eyes with Jake. Because that boy didn't just save your children. He saved himself too. He just doesn't know it yet. The captain walked out. His men followed, and 200 bikers sat in the waiting room watching the clock, praying for a boy they had never met to wake up. At 9:47 a.m., Dr. Chen appeared in the doorway. Jake was on his feet before she could speak. He's awake. A smile broke across her face. He's asking about the babies. Jake's knees buckled. Bear caught him. Old Pete started crying. Someone in the back whooped with joy. "Can I see him?" "Yes. But Jake, go easy. He's fragile, not just physically. He's been through more than any child should ever have to go through." "I know. Do you really understand what that boy survived? Not just tonight. His whole life. He's been abandoned, abused, thrown away by everyone who was supposed to protect him. He doesn't trust adults. He doesn't trust anyone." Jake thought about his own childhood. He had had a family, a home, parents who loved him. He had had everything. Marcus had had nothing. "I understand," Jake said quietly. "And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving to him that not all adults are monsters." Dr. Chen nodded slowly. "Room 412, 4th floor." Jake was running before she finished speaking. The hallway stretched forever. The elevator took years. Every step felt like moving through water. Then he was there. Room 412. The door was slightly open. Jake took a deep breath, pushed it open, stepped inside, and found himself looking at a 7-year-old boy who had given everything to save 2 strangers sitting up in a hospital bed with bandaged hands and haunted eyes, and a question on his face that broke Jake's heart. "Are they okay?" That was it. That was the first thing Marcus said. Not, "Where am I?" or "What happened to me?" or any of the things a normal person would ask. "Are they okay?" "They're perfect." Jake's voice shook. "Both of them. Emma is 97.4 degrees. Lucas is 97.1. They're healthy, they're strong, and they're alive. Because of you." Marcus nodded slowly. His face did not change. No relief, no joy. Just acceptance, like he had already calculated this outcome and was simply verifying the data. "Good." Jake crossed the room and sat in the chair beside the bed. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Jake said the only thing that mattered. "You're not going back." Marcus's eyes flickered. "What? The social workers, foster care, the streets, all of it. You're not going back. I don't. You're coming home with us, with me and Sarah and Emma and Lucas, if you want." The boy stared at him. No expression, no reaction. But something moved behind those eyes, something that had been dead for a very long time. "Why? Because you saved my children. That's not a reason." "You're right. It's not." Jake leaned forward. "Here's the real reason. When I was 15, I was headed down a bad road. A man named Victor took a chance on me, gave me a home, gave me a family, gave me the Steel Brotherhood. He didn't do it because I saved anybody. He did it because I needed saving." Marcus was quiet, listening. "You saved my children, Marcus. But that's not why I want you in my family. I want you because you deserve one. You deserve parents who will fight for you, who will never leave you, who will never let anyone hurt you again. You don't know me. I know enough. I know you're brave. I know you're good. I know you're exactly the kind of person this world needs more of. I might mess up. I might be too broken." Jake smiled. It was a sad smile, but real. "You're not broken, kid. You're the least broken person I've ever met. You've been through hell, and came out still willing to sacrifice everything for strangers. That's not broken. That's strong." Silence. Then so quietly, Jake almost missed it. Okay, I'll try." Marcus's voice cracked. "I want to go home with you." Jake Morrison, president of the Steel Brotherhood, former Marine, the man they called Thunder, burst into tears. And for the first time in his life, Marcus Webb let himself hope. The social worker arrived at 2 p.m. Her name was Patricia Holbrook, 53 years old, 27 years with Child Protective Services. She had seen everything: abuse cases that made her vomit, neglect cases that made her cry, and rare, precious cases that reminded her why she did this job. She had never seen anything like Marcus Webb. Mr. Morrison. She sat down across from Jake in the hospital cafeteria. I've reviewed Marcus's file. And it's one of the worst I've ever read. Her voice was steady, professional, but her eyes told a different story. 3 foster placements in 8 months. The first family was cited for inadequate supervision. The second was investigated for child confinement. The third, the Hendersons. Patricia's jaw tightened. You know about them. Sarah told me what Marcus said. Bad things, the kind that make you run away and never look back. The investigation is ongoing, but based on preliminary findings. She stopped, took a breath. Let's just say Marcus had every reason to run. Jake's hands clenched into fists under the table. Where are they now, the Hendersons? That's not your concern, Mr. Morrison. Like hell it isn't. That boy is going to be my son. Anyone who hurt him is absolutely my concern. Patricia studied him for a long moment. The Hendersons have been arrested. Charges are pending. I can't tell you more than that. Good. Jake forced his hands to relax. Now tell me what I need to do to bring Marcus home. It's not that simple. Make it simple. Mr. Morrison, Jake, my name is Jake. Jake. Patricia leaned forward. I want to help you. I've read what Marcus did. I've talked to the doctors, the fire crew, your wife. That boy is a hero. He deserves a family. He deserves you. But the system doesn't care about heroes. The system cares about background checks and home studies and 6-month waiting periods. The system cares about paperwork. Screw the paperwork. I understand your frustration, but if we don't do this right, someone could challenge the adoption later. Marcus could be taken from you. Is that what you want? Jake's anger deflated. No. Then we do this by the book. Background checks for you and Sarah. Home study once she's recovered. Parenting classes. Psychological evaluation for Marcus. The whole process takes 4 to 6 months minimum. 4 to 6 months. Where does Marcus go in the meantime? Patricia smiled. That's the one thing I can help with. Emergency foster placement with a designated family, specifically you and Sarah. It's called kinship care. Technically, you're not family yet, but given the circumstances, I can push it through. So he can come home with us. As soon as he's discharged from the hospital. But Jake. She reached across the table and touched his arm. This is just the beginning. Marcus has been through severe trauma. Not just the accident. His whole life. He's going to need therapy. Patience. Time. He's going to push you away because that's what he's learned to do. He's going to test you. He's going to wait for you to give up on him like everyone else did. I'm not giving up. You say that now. I'll say it in 10 years, in 20, in 50. Jake's voice was fierce. I made a promise, Patricia. Not to the system, to Marcus. I told him he would never be alone again, and I meant it. Patricia studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. I believe you. Good. Now what do I need to sign? The Brotherhood came in shifts. 200 men could not fit in a hospital room, so they rotated. 8 at a time. Every 2 hours. Around the clock. Marcus did not know what to make of them. They were huge. Covered in leather and tattoos. They looked like the kind of people his foster parents had warned him about, dangerous, scary people you crossed the street to avoid. But they brought him things. Old Pete brought a worn paperback copy of Treasure Island and read aloud in a gravelly voice until Marcus fell asleep. Spider brought a chess set and spent 3 hours teaching Marcus the basics, then looked genuinely shocked when the boy beat him on the 4th game. Bear brought his daughter Harper, who was 8 years old, and immediately declared that Marcus was her new best friend, and she would fight anyone who disagreed. "She's not kidding," Bear said, as Harper climbed onto Marcus's bed and started showing him pictures on her tablet. Last month she punched a kid twice her size because he called her friend a bad name. "Did she get in trouble?" Marcus asked. "Suspended for 3 days. I grounded her for a week." Bear grinned. "Then I took her out for ice cream because the kid deserved it." Harper beamed. "Daddy says standing up for people is more important than rules." Marcus looked at this girl, this small, fierce girl who punched bullies and believed in standing up for people, and felt something shift in his chest. "I think your daddy's right," he said quietly. Harper's smile could have lit up the room. On the 3rd day, they let Marcus see the babies. Sarah was in a wheelchair, her legs in temporary casts, but her eyes were bright and alive. Jake pushed her down the hallway to the NICU, with Marcus walking slowly beside them, his bandaged hands clutching the IV pole. "You okay?" Jake asked him. "Fine. You can tell me if you're not. It's okay to not be okay." Marcus did not respond. He did not know how to answer that question. He had never been okay. He did not know what okay felt like. The NICU was quiet. Machines beeped softly. Nurses moved with practiced efficiency. And in 2 bassinets, side by side, Emma and Lucas Morrison slept peacefully. Marcus stopped walking. He had not seen them since the car. Since the cold, and the darkness, and the endless hours of holding them against his chest. In his memory, they were fragile, tiny, blue-lipped, and barely breathing. Now they were pink, healthy, perfect. "Go on," Sarah's voice was gentle. "Go say hello." Marcus approached the bassinets slowly, like he was afraid of breaking something. He looked down at Emma first. She was awake, her dark eyes tracking his face with that intense gaze he remembered from the car. "Hey," he whispered, "remember me?" Emma made a small sound. Her tiny hand reached up toward his face. Something cracked open in Marcus's chest, something he had built very carefully over 11 months of survival and 4 years of foster care and a lifetime of abandonment. "She knows you," Sarah said, her voice thick with tears. "She remembers." Marcus reached down and touched Emma's hand. Her fingers wrapped around his index finger, the same finger she had held in the car, and squeezed. "I told you I wouldn't let anything happen to you," Marcus said. "I kept my promise." "Yes, you did." Jake was beside him now, one hand on Marcus's shoulder. "And now we're going to keep ours." Marcus looked up at him. "What if I can't do this? Do what? Be part of a family? I don't know how. I've never had one." "Neither did I." Jake squeezed his shoulder. "When I was your age, I was angry at the whole world. I didn't trust anyone. I pushed away everyone who tried to help me. What changed? Someone refused to give up. Someone kept showing up every single day, even when I made it hard. Even when I screamed at him to leave me alone. Even when I did everything I could to make him hate me." "Victor," Jake nodded. "Victor saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. He believed in me before I believed in anything. And eventually, I started to believe too." Marcus looked back at Emma. "What if I push you away? Then I'll push back. What if I scream at you? Then I'll listen. What if I try to make you hate me? Then I'll love you harder." Jake's voice was fierce. "There is nothing you can do, Marcus, that will make me give up on you. Nothing. I've faced enemy fire bar fights, betrayal by people I trusted. None of it broke me. And a 7-year-old kid who needs a family isn't going to break me either." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then so softly, Jake almost missed it. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of wanting this. Of believing it's real. Because every time I've believed before, it turned out to be a lie." Jake crouched down so they were eye to eye. "I know, and I know I can't prove it to you with words. I can only prove it with time. Day after day after day of showing up, of being here, of being your dad." "My dad?" The word hung in the air between them. Marcus had never said it before, had never had anyone to say it to. "Yeah," Jake's voice cracked. "Your dad, if you'll have me." Marcus looked at this man, this huge, tattooed, terrifying man who cried at sad movies and rescued spiders and had ridden through a blizzard with 200 brothers to save his family. "Okay," Marcus said. Jake pulled him into a hug. Gentle, careful of the bandages and the IV and all the fragile parts, but firm enough that Marcus could feel it. Firm enough to be real. "Welcome to the family, son." Sarah was crying. The nurses were crying. Even Bear, standing in the doorway, was wiping his eyes. And Marcus Webb, for the first time in his life, let himself be held. The day Marcus was discharged from the hospital, everything changed. 187 motorcycles were waiting in the parking lot. Marcus stood at the window of his room, looking down at the sea of chrome and leather, and could not believe what he was seeing. Men he had met over the past week, men who had visited him and told him stories and treated him like one of their own, were all there. "They wanted to escort you home," Jake said from behind him. "Wouldn't take no for an answer." "All of them?" "All of them, plus about 30 more from other chapters who heard the story and wanted to be part of it." So Jake put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You're famous now, kid, whether you like it or not." Marcus did not know if he liked it. Fame meant attention. Attention had never been safe in his experience. Attention meant social workers asking questions and foster parents performing for audiences. But this was different. These people were not watching to judge him. They were watching to welcome him. "Ready?" Jake asked. "I don't know." "That's okay. You don't have to be ready. You just have to take the first step." They walked out of the hospital together. Marcus, Jake, Sarah in her wheelchair, and Bear carrying Emma, while old Pete carried Lucas. The moment they appeared through the doors, 187 engines roared to life. The sound hit Marcus like a wave, thunder that shook the ground beneath his feet. The bikers had arranged themselves in formation, leaving a path down the center that led to Jake's Harley. "You'll ride with me," Jake said, "until you're old enough for your own." "My own?" "Every member of this family has a bike. You'll get yours when you're 16. Marcus looked at the custom sidecar attached to Jake's motorcycle. It had been installed overnight. Heated seat, wind guard, a small helmet painted with flames and the words, "Little Thunder," on the back. For me, for you. Marcus climbed into the sidecar. Jake settled onto the main seat and kicked the engine to life. "Ready to go home, home." The word still felt foreign, but for the first time, it also felt possible. "Ready." Jake raised his fist in the air, and 187 voices roared in response. The convoy began to move, rolling out of the parking lot and onto the streets of Helena. People stopped on sidewalks to watch. Cars pulled over. Some waved. Some took pictures. Some just stared, trying to understand what kind of event could warrant a motorcycle escort of this size. Marcus waved back. He smiled. He let himself feel, for the first time in years, like someone worth celebrating. The house was at the end of a quiet street in a neighborhood Marcus had never seen before. 2 stories. Big porch. A yard with actual grass. Someone had hung a banner across the front, "Welcome home, Marcus." "We didn't know your favorite color," Bear said, appearing at his side. "So we went with all of them." The banner was printed in every color of the rainbow. "It's perfect," Marcus said. And he meant it. Inside the house smelled like food and warmth and something Marcus could not identify. It took him a moment to realize what it was. Home. The house smelled like home. Jake gave him the tour. Living room with comfortable couches. Kitchen with a refrigerator covered in photos. Dining room with a table big enough for 12 people. "We have dinner here every Sunday," Jake explained. "The whole club comes. It gets loud." "I like loud," Marcus said. Jake smiled. "Good, because quiet isn't really our thing." Then upstairs. Sarah's recovery room where she would stay until her legs healed. The nursery painted yellow because Sarah had read somewhere that yellow made babies happy. A bathroom with actual hot water and towels that were not stolen from shelters. And at the end of the hallway, a closed door. "This is yours," Jake said. Marcus's heart started pounding. He did not know why. It was just a room. But it was his room. The first room that had ever been his. Jake opened the door. Marcus stopped breathing. A bed with a thick blue comforter. A desk by the window with notebooks and pencils. A bookshelf half filled with adventure stories and comics. A closet with clothes that looked like they might actually fit him. But that was not what stopped his breath. On the nightstand in a silver frame was a photograph. Marcus recognized it immediately. From the hospital. He was holding Emma, his bandaged hands gentle around her tiny body. And he was smiling. Really smiling. Not the fake smile he had learned to perform. A real one that reached his eyes. "Sarah picked that frame," Jake said quietly. "She wanted you to see yourself the way we see you." Marcus picked up the photograph. The boy in the picture looked happy. He looked like someone who belonged. "Is this real?" "It's real, and I'm going to spend every day proving it to you." Marcus set the photograph down carefully. He looked around the room, his room, and felt something breaking apart inside him. The walls he had built. The armor he had worn. All of it crumbling. "I don't know how to do this," he whispered. "Do what? Be happy. Be normal. Be someone's son." Jake crossed the room and knelt down so they were eye to eye. "You don't have to know how. You just have to let us teach you. What if I can't learn? You learned how to survive on the streets at 7 years old. You learned how to keep 2 babies alive in a blizzard. You learned things most adults never learn. Trust me, Marcus, you can learn this too." Tears started falling down Marcus's face. He tried to wipe them away, ashamed of the weakness. Jake caught his hands. Gentle. Careful of the healing frostbite. "Don't hide that. Crying doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And after everything you've been through, you've earned the right to cry." Marcus broke. Not the controlled, silent tears he had learned to hide in foster homes. Real sobs that shook his whole body. 11 months of walls. 4 years of foster care. 7 years of abandonment. All of it came crashing down in a flood that he could not stop. Jake held him. Did not say anything. Did not try to fix it. Just held him and let him cry until the tears ran out. "I'm sorry," Marcus said finally. "Don't ever apologize for feeling things." Jake's voice was thick. "That's what family is for." Family. The word did not feel foreign anymore. That night, Marcus could not sleep. He lay in his bed staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet, except for the occasional sound of Emma or Lucas crying in the nursery, and the soft murmur of Jake and Sarah's voices as they took turns with feedings. Normal sounds. Family sounds. Marcus did not know what to do with them. He got up quietly and walked downstairs. The kitchen light was on. Bear was sitting at the table drinking coffee. "Couldn't sleep either?" Bear asked. "No." "Want some hot chocolate?" Marcus nodded. He sat down across from Bear while the big man heated milk on the stove. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. "Anything." "Why did you all come to the hospital? To ride in the convoy? You don't even know me." Bear was quiet for a moment, stirring the hot chocolate. Then he sat down and slid a mug across the table to Marcus. "You know what the Brotherhood is really about?" "Motorcycles," Bear laughed. "That's part of it. But the real thing, the thing that matters, is family. Not blood family, chosen family. People who decide to stand beside each other no matter what." "But I didn't choose you. You didn't choose me." "Didn't we?" Bear took a sip of his coffee. "You chose to crawl through a blizzard to help strangers. You chose to take off your shirt and hold 2 babies for 6 hours. You chose to sacrifice yourself for people you had never met. That's not choosing a family. That's just doing what's right. That's exactly what choosing a family means." Bear leaned forward. "Family Tao isn't about what you get. It's about what you give. And you gave everything, Marcus. Everything you had. That makes you one of us." Marcus wrapped his hands around the warm mug. "I've never belonged anywhere before." "I know." "What if I mess it up?" "You will. Everyone does. That's not the point." "Then what is? The point is getting back up. The point is trying again. The point is knowing that when you fall, there are 200 people ready to catch you." Bear smiled. "You're not alone anymore, kid. You're never going to be alone again." Marcus took a sip of the hot chocolate. It was warm and sweet and perfect. "Bear, yeah, thank you for coming to find us, for riding through that storm." "You don't have to thank me." "I want to." Bear reached across the table and ruffled Marcus's hair. "You're a good kid, Marcus Webb. Best kid I've ever met. And I've met a lot of kids." "I'm not Webb anymore." Bear raised an eyebrow. "No. Jake said the adoption paperwork is already started. By next month, my name will be Marcus Morrison." Bear's smile spread across his entire face. "Morrison. I like the sound of that." "Me too." They sat in comfortable silence, drinking their warm drinks until Marcus's eyes finally started to grow heavy. "Go to bed, kid," Bear said gently. "You've got a lot of living to do tomorrow." Marcus stood up, hesitated, then walked around the table and hugged Bear quickly, awkwardly, like he was not quite sure how hugging worked. Bear hugged him back, firm and warm and real. "Good night, Marcus Morrison." "Good night, Bear." Marcus walked back upstairs. He paused at the nursery door and looked in. Jake was sitting in a rocking chair, Lucas asleep against his chest, singing softly under his breath. Jake looked up, saw Marcus, smiled. "Can't sleep. I slept a little. Want to hold him?" Marcus hesitated, then nodded. He sat down in the chair next to Jake, and Jake carefully transferred Lucas into his arms. The baby was warm and heavy and peaceful. "You're good at this," Jake said. "I've had practice." "You've had more practice than any kid should ever have." Jake leaned back in his chair. "But that's over now. From here on out, the only practice you need is being a big brother." Big brother. Marcus looked down at Lucas's sleeping face, then over at Emma in her bassinet. "I'm going to protect them," he said quietly. Always, no matter what. I know you will. Because that's what family does. Jake's eyes glistened. Yeah, son, that's exactly what family does. Marcus held Lucas close and listened to the baby's steady breathing. In that moment, surrounded by warmth and love and the quiet sounds of a sleeping house, he made himself a promise. He was going to be worthy of this. Worthy of Jake and Sarah. Worthy of Emma and Lucas. Worthy of the 200 brothers who had ridden through a blizzard for him. He was going to be the best son, the best brother, the best person he could possibly be. Because for the first time in his life, Marcus Morrison, had something worth living for. 5 years passed like a heartbeat. Marcus Morrison stood in front of his bedroom mirror, adjusting the collar of his leather vest. 12 years old now, tall for his age, shoulders that hinted at the man he would become. His hands still bore faint scars from the frostbite, barely visible, unless you knew where to look. You ready? Jake appeared in the doorway. Almost. Nervous. Marcus turned to face his father. A little. Good. That means you care. Today was the day, the 5th anniversary of the rescue. The day Marcus would stand before 5,000 bikers at the Sturgis National Rally and tell his story to the world. What if I forget what to say? Then you speak from the heart. What if they don't want to hear it? Jake crossed the room and put both hands on Marcus's shoulders. Listen to me. 5,000 people are out there right now waiting for you. Not because they have to be, because they want to be. Because your story matters. Because you matter. Marcus looked at the photograph on his nightstand. The same photograph Sarah had framed 5 years ago. Him holding Emma, smiling, looking like someone who belonged. He belonged now. He knew it. But some days the old fears still crept in. Dad, yeah, thank you for not giving up on me. Jake pulled him into a hug. I never even considered it. The rally was massive. 5,000 motorcycles filled the grounds. 5,000 bikers from across the country all gathered to hear a 12-year-old boy tell his story. Marcus stood backstage, his heart pounding. Emma and Lucas were beside him, 5 years old now, holding his hands like it was the most natural thing in the world. Because to them it was. They had never known life without their big brother. Marcus. Emma tugged on his arm. Are you scared? A little. Don't be scared. She squeezed his hand tighter. We're right here. Yeah, Lucas added. And if anyone's mean to you, I'll punch them. Marcus laughed. It was a real laugh, the kind that came from somewhere deep in his chest. The kind he had learned to have over 5 years of being loved. Thanks, buddy, but I don't think you'll need to punch anyone. I'll do it anyway, just in case. Bear appeared beside them. You're on in 2 minutes. Marcus took a deep breath. Okay. You've got this, kid. Bear's voice was gruff, but warm. Just remember who you are. Who am I? You're Marcus Morrison, son of thunder, brother of Emma and Lucas, member of the Steel Brotherhood, and the bravest damn kid any of us have ever met. Marcus looked out at the crowd. 5,000 faces, 5,000 stories, 5,000 people who had ridden through their own storms to be here today. He was not afraid anymore. The stage was larger than Marcus had imagined. He walked out alone. Emma and Lucas waiting in the wings with Jake and Sarah. The crowd fell silent as he approached the microphone. 5,000 people, all watching him, all waiting. Marcus cleared his throat. 5 years ago I was dying in a blizzard. His voice echoed across the grounds. Strong, clear, not the voice of a scared 7-year-old anymore. I was homeless, starving, abandoned by everyone who was supposed to protect me. I thought I was invisible. I thought my life didn't matter to anyone. I thought I was going to die alone in an abandoned building and nobody would even notice. The crowd was absolutely still. Then I heard a crash. I found 2 babies trapped in a wrecked car, and I made a choice. He paused, letting the words settle. I could have walked away. I could have saved myself. I could have let those babies freeze because the world had never given me any reason to care about strangers. But I didn't. I took off my shirt in -28 degrees. I held those babies against my chest for 6 hours. I gave them everything I had, even though it meant I might not survive. He looked toward the wings where Emma and Lucas were watching with wide eyes. And you know what? That choice didn't just save them. It saved me too. The crowd stirred. Someone in the front row wiped their eyes. I didn't know it then, but when I crawled through that snow to help strangers, I was crawling toward my family. I was crawling toward a father who would never give up on me, a mother who would fight for me, a brother and sister who would love me unconditionally, 200 uncles who would ride through any storm. He smiled. I was crawling toward home. The applause started somewhere in the middle of the crowd and spread like wildfire. People were standing, cheering, crying. But Marcus was not finished. "Hold on," he said, raising his hand. "I'm not done yet." The crowd quieted. That night in the blizzard, I learned something. I learned that family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about showing up when it matters. It's about saying, "I've got you," and meaning it. He pulled a small card from his pocket. 3 years ago, with the help of the Steel Brotherhood, we started something called the Marcus Foundation. Our mission is simple: find invisible kids and give them families. He held up the card. This is a picture of a kid named Derek. He was 9 years old when we found him, living under a bridge in Billings. No family, no hope, no one looking for him. Marcus's voice cracked, but he pushed through. Derek is 11 now. He lives with a Brotherhood family in Wyoming. He plays baseball. He gets straight A's. And last month he told me that for the first time in his life, he feels like he matters. He lowered the card. In 3 years, the Marcus Foundation has placed 127 kids with families. 127 invisible kids who now have homes. 127 kids who know what it feels like to belong. The crowd was silent, listening, feeling. But there are thousands more, thousands of kids sleeping under bridges and in abandoned buildings and on cold streets. Thousands of kids who think nobody cares if they live or die. He stepped closer to the edge of the stage. I'm here to tell you that we care. This community cares. Every single person in this crowd cares. And if you see an invisible kid, if you know a child who needs help, don't look away. Be the person who changes their story. He took a deep breath. 5 years ago, I was nobody. Today, I'm Marcus Morrison. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm a member of this family. And I'm living proof that one act of love can change everything. 5,000 people rose to their feet. The roar was deafening. Engines revved, horns blared. People were chanting his name. And Marcus Morrison, the boy who had once been invisible, stood on that stage and let himself be seen. After the speech, the crowd would not let him leave. People lined up for hours just to shake his hand. Parents brought their children to meet him. Grizzled bikers with tears streaming down their faces told him he had changed their lives. "You don't understand," one man said, gripping Marcus's hand. "I was going to give up, on everything. Then I heard your story last year and I thought if a 7-year-old kid can survive that, what excuse do I have?" I'm glad you didn't give up, Marcus said. So am I. The man wiped his eyes. I've got 2 years sober now. Got my kids back, got a job, all because of you. Marcus did not know what to say. He was 12 years old. How could his story have that kind of impact? But it did. Over and over again, people told him the same thing. His story had given them hope. His survival had reminded them what mattered. His choice to help strangers had inspired them to do the same. You okay? Jake appeared at his side, seeing the overwhelm in Marcus's eyes. I think so. It's just a lot. I know, but you're handling it. How? Same way you handle everything, one step at a time. That night, the Brotherhood threw a party. The whole club gathered at a rented hall, along with chapters from 12 other states. 500 people packed into a space meant for 300, and nobody cared about the fire code. Marcus sat at a table with Emma and Lucas eating cake and watching the chaos unfold around him. Marcus? Emma climbed into his lap, her face smeared with chocolate frosting. Yeah, Em. That was a good speech. Thanks. I cried. Marcus smiled. I saw. Lucas cried too, but he said he wasn't crying. He said he had something in his eye. I did have something in my eye, Lucas protested from across the table. You did not. You were crying because Marcus was being inspirational. I don't even know what inspirational means. It means making people feel things. I don't want to feel things, Marcus laughed, pulling both of them close. These two kids, his brother and sister, the babies he had held against his chest in a freezing car 5 years ago. They were perfect. They were annoying. They were his. I love you guys, he said. We love you too, Emma said immediately. Lucas squirmed. Do we have to say it out loud? Can't we just know it? We can know it, but it's also nice to hear it sometimes. Lucas was quiet for a moment. Then very quietly, I love you too, Marcus, even when you're being inspirational. Sarah appeared beside them, her eyes red from crying. She had walked again, just like the doctors promised. No trace of that night remained except the faint scars on her legs and the absolute certainty that her family was whole. Having fun? Yeah. Marcus looked up at her. Mom. It still felt strange to say that word, even after 5 years, but Sarah had earned it. Every day she had earned it. Yes, honey. Thank you for everything. You don't have to thank me. I want to. Sarah sat down beside him and pulled him into a hug. You changed our lives, Marcus. Not the other way around. I think it was both. Maybe. She kissed his forehead. Probably. The party continued late into the night. Music played. People danced. Stories were told and retold until they became legend. And through it all, Marcus Morrison sat with his family surrounded by love, finally understanding what home really meant. 2 years later, everything changed again. Marcus was 14. The Marcus Foundation had grown beyond anything he had imagined. 512 placements now, chapters in 38 states, recognition from the governor and 2 senators, a documentary in production, a book deal on the table. But none of that was what changed. What changed was the knock on the door at 3 a.m. Marcus heard it first. He was a light sleeper, trained by years on the streets to wake at the slightest sound. He crept downstairs and found Jake already at the door talking to someone Marcus could not see. I'm sorry to show up like this. A woman's voice. Tired. Desperate. I didn't know where else to go. It's okay. Come inside. Jake stepped back, and Marcus saw her. She was thin, haggard, gray streaks in hair that should have been brown. She looked like she had not slept in days. She looked like she had been carrying something heavy for a very long time. And her eyes. Marcus knew those eyes. He had seen them in the mirror every day for 7 years. "Marcus," Jake's voice was careful. "There's someone here to see you." "Who?" The woman stepped forward. Her hands were shaking. "I know you don't remember me," she said. "You were so young, and I wasn't. Who are you?" She took a breath that seemed to hurt. "My name is Diane Webb." Her voice cracked. "I'm your mother." The world stopped. Marcus stared at the woman who had written 4 words on a note and walked out of his life. The woman who had left him alone in a trailer for 3 days. The woman who had started the chain of events that led him through foster care and abuse and homelessness. The woman who had broken him. "Get out. Marcus, get out of my house. Please, just let me explain." "Explain!" His voice rose. "Explain what? Explain why you left a 6-year-old alone. Explain why 4 words was all I was worth. Explain why you never came back." Jake stepped forward. "Marcus, no, Dad. She doesn't get to do this. She doesn't get to show up after 8 years and ask for what? Forgiveness. A second chance. She left me. I know." Diane was crying now. "I know what I did. I've known every day for 8 years, and I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I'm not here to ask for anything." "Then why are you here?" She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Her hands shook as she held it out to him. "I'm dying, Marcus. Cancer. 6 months, maybe less. And before I go, I needed you to know the truth." Marcus did not take the paper. "The truth about what? About why I left. About what I was protecting you from. Protecting me, you abandoned me. Because if I had stayed, he would have killed you." The room went silent. Marcus stared at her. "What? Your father. Your biological father. He was—" She stopped, started again. "He was a monster, Marcus. And when he found out I was planning to leave with you, he said he would kill us both. So I ran. I left you somewhere I thought you would be safe, somewhere he couldn't find you, and I led him as far away as I could." "That doesn't make sense. You could have taken me with you." "I tried. For 2 years I tried. But he kept finding us. He beat me so badly once that I couldn't walk for a week. And then he said—" Her voice broke. "He said the next time it wouldn't be me. It would be you." Marcus's hands were shaking now. "Why didn't you tell the police?" "I did. They didn't believe me. He was charming, respectable. I was just a hysterical woman making accusations." She laughed bitterly. "It took him killing someone else before they finally put him away. By then it had been 4 years. I tried to find you, but you had disappeared. No records. No trail. Like you had never existed. I was on the streets. I know that now. I hired private investigators. I spent every penny I had. And then 2 years ago I saw you on TV, speaking at the Sturgis rally." She wiped her eyes. "You were alive. You were healthy. You had a family. You were everything I had prayed you would become." She smiled through her tears. "And I thought maybe I made the right choice after all. Maybe leaving you was the only way to save you." Marcus did not know what to feel. Anger, grief, confusion, all of it swirling together in his chest. "Why didn't you contact me then 2 years ago?" "Because you were happy. Because you had everything I could never give you. And I thought, what right do I have to disrupt that? What right do I have to show up and remind you of everything you survived? So why now?" "Because I'm dying." Her voice was steady now. "And because I needed you to know before I go that leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done, that I have loved you every single day since, that I'm proud of you, so proud for the man you're becoming." She held out the paper again. "This is everything. Documentation, police reports, hospital records from when he hurt me, evidence that I wanted you, Marcus, that I always wanted you." Marcus took the paper. His hands were still shaking. "I don't expect your forgiveness," Diane said. "I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know the truth. And now you do." She turned toward the door. "Wait." The word came out before Marcus could stop it. Diane stopped. Marcus looked at Jake. His father, his real father, the one who had chosen him, nodded slowly. "She can stay tonight," Jake said. "We've got room." "Jake, you don't have to—" "I know." Jake put a hand on Diane's shoulder. "But my son almost died because he couldn't walk away from strangers. You think I'm going to let him walk away from his birth mother?" Diane broke down, sobbing, years of guilt and fear and loneliness pouring out of her. Marcus watched her cry, and something shifted in his chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something close, understanding maybe, or the beginning of it. "Mom!" Emma's voice came from the stairs. She was 7 now, standing in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "What's happening?" Marcus turned to his sister. "It's okay, Em. Go back to bed." "Who's the crying lady?" Marcus looked at Diane. At this broken woman who had made an impossible choice 8 years ago, who had carried the weight of it every day since. "She's someone who needs help," Marcus said. "And we help people. That's what this family does." Emma nodded seriously. "Okay. Can she have pancakes tomorrow? Pancakes always make people feel better." Despite everything, Marcus laughed. "Yeah, Em, she can have pancakes." Diane stayed for 3 weeks. She slept in the guest room. She ate meals with the family. She watched Marcus with Emma and Lucas, and saw the brother he had become. She sat with Jake and Sarah, and learned about the man who had stepped up when she could not. And slowly, carefully, she and Marcus began to talk. Not about forgiveness, not about the past, just about the present. About who they were now. About who they were becoming. The night before she left, they sat together on the porch. "I'm not going to say I'm sorry again," Diane said. "I've said it enough. And I know words don't fix what happened. No, they don't. But I want you to know." She turned to face him. "The person you are, the man you're becoming, that's not because of me. That's because of Jake and Sarah. That's because of the brotherhood. That's because of your own strength. It's because of a lot of things. Yes, but mostly it's because of you. You had every reason to become bitter, angry, cruel. You had every reason to let the world break you. But you didn't. I almost did. Almost isn't the same as actually." She reached out and touched his face. "I'm proud of you, Marcus. Whatever happens, wherever I go, I want you to remember that." "I'll remember. And Marcus, yeah, thank you, for letting me see you one last time, for letting me know that my choice that leaving you led to something good. I can die in peace now." Marcus did not know what to say, so he did the only thing he could. He hugged her, not a son hugging his mother. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation. Just one human being comforting another. It was enough. Diane died 4 months later. Marcus was there, holding her hand as she took her last breath, promising her that he would keep living, keep helping, keep being the person she was proud of. The funeral was small. Just Marcus and the Morrison family. No other relatives. No friends. Diane Webb had lived a lonely life, paying for a choice that had saved her son. But she did not die alone. And that was something. 5 more years passed. Marcus was 19 now, college freshman, studying social work because he wanted to be the person kids needed when they had no one else. The Marcus Foundation had placed 2,047 children with families, chapters in all 50 states and 12 countries, a model program that child welfare agencies were studying and replicating. Emma was 12. Lucas was 12. Still holding Marcus's hands at rallies, still calling him their hero, still punching anyone who said a bad word about their brother. Jake and Sarah had adopted 3 more children over the years, all from the foster system, all invisible kids who needed families. The house was chaos, and noise, and love. Everything Marcus had never known he wanted. On the 10th anniversary of the rescue, Marcus stood before 10,000 people at Sturgis. A decade ago, I was a 7-year-old boy dying alone in a blizzard. His voice was different now, deeper, more certain. I had given up on the world. The world had given up on me. I thought I was invisible. I thought I would disappear without a trace. He paused. But then I heard a crash. I found 2 babies who needed help, and I made a choice that changed everything. He looked out at the crowd. 10,000 faces, 10,000 people who had come to hear a story of hope. I didn't know it then, but that choice was the beginning of everything. The beginning of family, the beginning of love, the beginning of a life I never dared to imagine. He raised his fist. 2,047 kids have found families through the foundation. 2,047 invisible children who now know what it means to belong. And we're not done, not even close. The crowd roared. So here's what I want you to remember. When you see a kid who's struggling, don't look away. When you meet someone who needs help, don't walk past. When you have the chance to change a life, take it. He smiled. Because you never know. That invisible kid you help today might just change the world tomorrow. 10,000 people rose to their feet. And Marcus Morrison, the boy who had given everything to save 2 strangers, stood on that stage and understood what his life had been building toward. Not fame, not recognition, not even the foundation. Family. The choice to stand beside someone. The choice to say, I've got you, and mean it. The choice to love even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. That was the miracle. That was the gift. That was everything. Marcus raised both hands to the sky, and 10,000 voices joined his in a roar that shook the earth. In the front row, Jake Morrison watched his son with tears streaming down his face. Beside him, Sarah held Emma and Lucas close. Behind them, 200 Steel Brotherhood members stood in formation, their leather vests gleaming in the sun. This was what family looked like. This was what love built. This was the legacy of a 7-year-old boy who had refused to let 2 babies die, even if it meant dying himself. And it would echo through generations. Long after Marcus was gone, long after the foundation had saved its 10,000th child, long after the story had become legend, people would remember. They would remember that a homeless boy with nothing had given everything. They would remember that a motorcycle club had ridden through a blizzard for strangers. They would remember that family was not about blood, but about choice. And they would remember the most important lesson of all. One act of love given freely and without expectation can change the entire world. Marcus Morrison knew that now. He had lived it. And he would spend the rest of his life proving it. Because that was what family did. That was what love did. That was what heroes did. And Marcus Morrison, the invisible boy who became a legend, was finally completely, unquestionably home.